The following is my opinion, just my opinion. Mine, just mine. Recently, I listed in my Sunday morning email newsletter some information about the Parasite cleanse that I do for myself and for my little pup, Lucy. As a result, I got so many questions, so many emails in asking about that cleanse, how I do it, why I do it, that sort of thing. So I decided that we need to talk about it. If you're new here, welcome in. I'm Kimberly. This is Pretty Over 50, where we talk everything beauty, fitness, and lifestyle for the over 50 woman. I'm so glad you stopped by today. I hope you'll consider subscribing before you leave, and make sure you click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. As I mentioned, we'll be talking about parasites today. And as I mentioned as well, this is just my opinion. I want to be clear, I am not a doctor. I am not a nurse. I am not a medical professional of any kind. I'm just a human that lives on planet Earth and has learned a little bit about how to manage my body. I've done research and have had personal experience with parasite cleanses. So today I thought I would share my experience, share my opinions, and just let you know what I have learned along the way. First, let's talk about parasites and if we have parasites. And my personal answer to that question, do I, do you, do we all have parasites? My answer would be yes. Absolutely. Unless a person had just finished a very comprehensive parasite cleanse within the last day or two, my opinion would be yes, they've got parasites. Why? Because parasites are part of this planet. I look at parasites kind of like dust in your house. Does your house have dust? Yes. All houses have dust. Why? Because dust exists on this planet. What you really need to consider is how much dust does your house have? And when the dust builds up enough, what do? You clean the house, you clean the dust. And then 3 days later, do you have dust? Yes, you have dust again. It's just not built up to the point where it's time to clean it, but it will be soon. I think about parasites the exact same way. The question I would have is, what's the parasite load? In other words, do you have just a few parasites? Do you have a medium amount of parasites? Or do you have a heavy load of parasites? That's the only question I would ask. Parasites are ubiquitous. They're everywhere. Animals have parasites, humans have parasites. They're just part of the ecosystem on the planet. And what I keep an eye on with my own body is, where is my parasite load? That is really the only question I'm asking myself. I do a parasite cleanse at least 3 times a year because I figure that by time those months have stacked up, I'm probably working with a fairly significant parasite load. Parasite cleanses are super easy, and I just add it to my regimen, my supplement regimen. And I make sure that I do it a few times a year at least. And then I also make choices about what I'll eat or not eat based on whether I think that thing has a whole lot of parasites in it. If you're wondering if you have parasites, my personal opinion based on my experience and my research is, yeah, you probably do. Is it an indication of a slovenly lifestyle or a dirty house or a socioeconomic level? No, it's like dust. Dust will show up anywhere because dust exists on the planet. The same thing is true with parasites. In addition, you want to think about your exposure to animals. If you follow Dr. Barbara O'Neill, and I'll have her listed down below, and I'll try to find some videos of hers that talk about parasites, she will say that in relation to parasites, if you have animals in the house, your exposure is much, much higher. In other words, if you have animals in the house, you have parasites. If you pet a dog, your chances of having a higher load of parasites is higher. If you've ever had an animal lick you, whether it's a cat or a dog or a cow or a goat, your chances of a parasite load are higher, just because parasites do seem to favor animals, although they'll take humans any day of the week as well. Your exposure to animals is going to have an impact on your ongoing parasite load, and I keep that in mind. I have a dog, Lucy. You guys might know her. She lives in my house with me. She's on me all the time. I'm petting her all the time. She's licking me all the time. What do I know? I know that my parasite load is going to be a lot higher because I have a dog in the house, and that dog is very close to me physically a lot of the time. So that means my parasite load is going to be higher. So that also means that my treatment of Lucy for parasites is higher as well. Lucy gets a parasite cleanse about 4 times a year. So she gets a cleanse more often than I do. So right about now, you're probably wondering if parasites are such a big deal, if it is true that everyone has parasites, and certainly everyone is exposed to parasites, why haven't we heard about them more? Why isn't our doctor suggesting parasite cleanses? Why don't we see advertisements for parasite cleanses on the television and on social media and that sort of thing? And the answer is, I can't say for sure. I can only speculate, again, my opinion. And my speculation is that the treatment for parasites can be very, very inexpensive and very easy to do, and it really does solve a lot of health issues. And if we're solving our health issues in a very easy and affordable way, there is an industry, big pharma, that is going to lose a lot of revenue if we're able to take care of a lot of our health issues very easily and very affordably. That's my speculation. Fortunately, there are some wonderful doctors out there right now talking about parasite cleanses, how to do them, how important they are. They're sidelined. They're kind of mocked and they're belittled because they're really undermining a cash cow of an industry. The next step we want to talk about is, what is a parasite cleanse and where do you find them? And the answer to that is, there's a lot of ways to address parasites. And once it becomes an awareness in your field, or you're starting to notice it, the information is going to start popping up. Why is it so important for us to deal with parasites? Let's address that first. When your body is having to actively fight off a large load of parasites, it's busy. It's just like you. When you have a very, very full day that you've got to take care of things, put out fires, get tasks done, you don't have a lot of bandwidth for other things. Your body is the same way. When it's so busy isolating and dealing with parasites, it can't take care of the other functions as efficiently as if you didn't have that heavy parasite load. My opinion, and it also seems to be the opinion of a few doctors out there, is there are a lot of everyday ailments that your body would have the bandwidth to take care of or to solve on its own if the parasite load is lower. In other words, think about the world around us, particularly in the United States. Our water is not clean, our food is toxic, whatever is in the air is toxic. We are surrounded with toxic chemicals, from glyphosate that they're putting on the grasses to everything else around us. We are subjected to a toxic load in our daily life that is enormous. And if your body is so busy dealing with that toxic load, and then it's got parasites on top of that, what happens? Other issues fall away because your body is going to focus on the big fires or the big issues, the parasites, the toxicity, and other issues are just going to have to go by the wayside. My opinion is that your body is smarter than any doctor you're ever going to meet. It really is. It is a divinely inspired machine, your body, and the intelligence of your body is off the charts. If you're familiar with Dr. Zach Bush, he talks about this all the time. The brilliance of your body is stunning. And what we can do to support that brilliance is to make sure that our body has as much bandwidth as possible in order to display that intelligence in a really, really brilliant way. There are lots of ways to deal with parasites. I'm going to go over one today, and I'm going to talk about another. And then I'm also going to share an email that I got from one of you and talk about what I would do if I was in her situation. This is the cleanse that I use 3 times a year. It's not the only thing I do, but this is kind of the foundation of the cleanse that I do 3 times a year. And you can see it's from Dr. Clark. So this is the Dr. Clark's Parasite Cleanse. It's famous in the world of parasites. It really is. You can get this cleanse off of Amazon, or you can also get it on Dr. Clark's site. As far as I remember, it's the same price either place, and it's the same cleanse either place. This is a very powerful, very comprehensive parasite cleanse, and if you follow it to the T, the entire 18 days of the cleanse, you're going to be in really good shape. Again, I do this 3 times a year. What does this cleanse entail? There's primarily 3 ingredients. One is wormwood. The other is Mimosa pudica. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not sure. And then the last one is green and black walnut blend. These are all natural ingredients derived from earth, and together, used in the very formula that Dr. Clark has laid out, it provides a very comprehensive, very effective parasite cleanse. One of the things that you want to keep in mind when you start a parasite cleanse, and this is super important, so make sure you take note of this, at least mentally, if not, write it down. When you do a parasite cleanse, you want to make sure you do it completely and fully all the way through. Why? Because parasites are wily little creatures and they want to live too. If you start a parasite cleanse, those parasites are aware that they're under attack. And parasites want to perpetuate. They will spread from animals to humans. They'll spread from human to human. If you sleep with someone at night, there are parasites in either your body or the other person's body that are going to sense another potential host, and they're going to travel outside of one body and into the other body looking for a new host. They want to continue on. So when they sense a threat, they go into high gear. They will start multiplying at a higher rate, and they'll also go deeper into the cells of the body in order to avoid whatever it is trying to take them out. So if you start a parasite cleanse and stop or don't do it completely, you're going to end up with a harder load to eliminate. Because the parasites are very wily. They want to continue on, and obviously you're a wonderful host and they want to stay there. So if you start a parasite cleanse, make sure that you're committed to doing it all the way through, that you do not stop. Starting a parasite cleanse and then stopping before it's completed is worse than not doing anything at all, because you've stirred up the nest and they're going to go into high gear, making sure that they multiply and they go deeper into the body to avoid being eliminated. One of the questions I had when I listed the parasite cleanse in my email newsletter, and if you're interested, I have a Sunday morning email newsletter. It's super, super popular and it's very free. It's listed in the description box down below. And this is the kind of information I put in the Sunday morning email newsletter. I try to really give you good stuff that's going to impact your life in a positive way. So back to the cleanse. When you order the cleanse, it's going to come with this documentation. This documentation has within it the entire regimen and how to do it. So I would go ahead and read all of this front and back just because it's really, really good information. You can see Dr. Clark has put together a lot of great facts about parasites and how to deal with them, and this becomes a super valuable piece of information. This is the one that I got years ago when I started doing this cleanse, and I just keep it in my supplement bucket and I refer to it when I do a cleanse. Right in the middle, right here, it shows how to do the cleanse, how many of each of the ingredients you take every single day. It's an 18-day cleanse and it lays out very, very clearly how to take each one of those supplements, how many to take, and when to take them. Because it's laid out so very clearly, the toughest thing about this cleanse is just remembering what day you're on. That's really the only challenging thing, at least for me. The simplest solution that I have come up with is I pull out my handy dandy index card, and you can see it right here, and I'll put the numbers 1 through 18 on this index card. This stays right near the bottles that contain the cleanse ingredients, and every day I lay out all my pills for that day. I circle that day when I lay out the pills so I know that's the last day that I'm on. That's the recent day is the last one circled. And then during the day, as I take my supplements, I know I'm right on track. In addition, there is space over here so I can make any notes about what's going on. Do I usually make notes? No, because nothing much is going on other than me taking the ingredients for that day's treatment. I have found that using this way so that I keep track of the day I'm on, I put all my pills out for the day, I can refer back to the handy dandy little chart to tell me when I need to take those pills, and it all goes really, really smoothly. Your next question might be, what can I expect from a parasite cleanse? You may have heard some wild, pretty dramatic stories about people having an experience with a parasite cleanse. My experience, and I've been doing cleanses now like this for almost 4 years, is nothing really has happened for me. In other words, I haven't had any dramatic results from doing a parasite cleanse. I just take all the tablets and I feel great at the end. And I probably notice a little bit higher level of energy because now my body is not sucking all that energy to deal with parasites. So for me, it's been nothing dramatic. I just take everything for 18 days and boom, I'm done. And I fire it back up about 4 months down the road. Your experience might be different depending on your parasite load. And you know, this morning I was trying to think back to the first time that I did a parasite cleanse about 4 years ago. Did I have a dramatic result? And to be honest with you, I can't really remember. I don't remember anything significant from doing it. So that might be your experience as well. If you've never done a parasite cleanse, then you might be on the lookout for some changes in your digestion. You might be on the lookout for noticing a change in your energy. You might be on the lookout for some differences in your skin, improvement in your skin, or other issues that maybe your body didn't have the bandwidth to take care of because it was dealing with those parasites. So if you've never done a parasite cleanse or it's been a long time, you might just keep your awareness at a little higher level because you might notice some things change with your body. Is this the only way to do a parasite cleanse? No, there's lots of different programs. I have just found that Dr. Clark's is kind of a tried and true way to really make sure that you have a very comprehensive cleanse. And I know when I'm done that my body is really, really cleaned out. There are other ways to do it as well, and this is one. This is, of course, the medication that shall not be named. It starts with Ivor, and it ends with a word that sounds like pectin. And I get this at the Tractor Supply, at the animal supply store, and this stays in my refrigerator. There are a lot of people who use this medication that shall not be named for their parasite cleanses. There is a doctor by the name of Dr. Lee Merrick. I believe she was an Air Force surgeon. Don't quote me on that. She was in the military. She really talks about using this medication that shall not be named as a parasite cleanse. And there's other people that are talking about it as well. This is an option if this looks better to you. Now, why is this the medication that shall not be named? Because it's off patent. It's very inexpensive. This little tube right here, I think runs like $10.99. And if you have an off-patent medication that's very affordable and very, very effective, and you're a titan of an industry that makes insane profits on medications, you don't want this out in the world because it's going to undercut a whole lot of your business. So that's my opinion on why this is the medication that shall not be named. I'm going to go back and talk about this a little bit longer into the video, so hang on, because there is some research and some studies and papers being done about this that you might find interesting. I mentioned that my dog Lucy also gets parasite cleanses, and she gets hers 4 times a year instead of 3 times a year. Why? Because she licks creepy stuff. She's down lower to the ground. She's always sticking her nose where I would never stick my nose. So her parasite load is going to be a lot higher just because, first of all, she's a dog, and second of all, what she gets up into. I give her this, it's called Panicure C, and this is Fenbin. You might have heard about Fenbin if you're open to more alternative perspectives on medicine. Fenbin is also being used on humans, not only for parasites, but for other conditions that I'm not going to talk about because YouTube has a real love for taking down videos like this that talk about alternative healthcare. It's a condition, starts with C. Everybody knows about it or knows someone that's had it. Fenbin is being used to treat that. One of the doctors that is doing some pretty dramatic work with people in end stages of the big C is using parasite mitigation treatments in order to affect patients who have been given a end-stage diagnosis. In other words, mainstream medicine have said to them, there's nothing more we can do. Dr. Makis, M-A-K-I-S, I'll have his X account listed down below. He also has a Substack where he's writing papers regularly with results from using things like Fenbin and the medication that shall not be named in some pretty dramatic ways. If you're interested in learning more about that, his X account is really, really interesting. He also has that Substack, of course. Now I want to talk about an email that I got from one of you really asking for information. So the email reads, I'm sure you are busy, yet I am desperate. I saw pics from our 50th wedding anniversary and cringed. My body had not been my friend with all kinds of issues. Now my face is worse than ever. Do you have a direction I can turn to for an old face with rosacea for skincare and makeup on a retirement budget? I'm going to go back to the fact that I am not a medical professional. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a doctor. I have no medical training at all. I cannot give an opinion on that question. I really can't. But what I can share is what I would do if I was in that situation. So this is not medical advice. This is not advice at all. All I'm doing is sharing what I would do if I had that situation that the woman that wrote to me has. What I would notice about my body if I was having that issue is I know that everything starts from the inside. Inside your body is where it all begins. And inside your body is where your gut is where the parasites are, the whole thing. And I know for sure that when the inside of my body is functioning at an optimum level, the outside of my body reflects that. If I was in this woman's situation, I would start with my gut first and really work on getting my gut as healthy as possible. Because when your gut microbiome is as healthy as it can be, you're going to experience a much greater level of good health. I'm convinced, and again, this is just my opinion, that so much of what we see with these kind of irritating ailments like rosacea is it's really our body signaling us that things are out of whack, that the very basis, the inside of our body, is not functioning well, it's struggling. I would definitely start with my gut health. There are lots and lots of ways to work with your gut health, and you certainly can do a lot of research on that. I'm not going to go into depth here. What I use for my gut health, and I've been using it since before I started my channel, is the Ion Gut Support, and I've been using it for years now. When I don't use it, either I run out or I get lazy or I'm traveling, I notice right away I am puffier. My body is just sluggish. It's just not working as well. The reason that our gut health is so important right now is going back to the toxicity in our environment. You might be saying, well, why do you need to keep using it if you get your gut in a good place? Because we're being bombarded all the time with toxins. Toxins in the air, toxins in the water, toxins in our food, toxins in what they're spraying on the land. Everywhere we are just inundated with a very, very toxic environment. So keeping your gut in good shape is the foundation of making sure that your body has what it needs in order to take care of you throughout the day. So if I was this woman, I would start with my gut health. I would either use the Ion Biome, or I would do research on how I can get my gut in as healthy a place as possible. The second thing I would do is, right away, I would start with a parasite cleanse. Because if I had noticed a skin condition that had popped up, what that would tell me is my body is struggling because it doesn't have the bandwidth to deal with that skin condition. So that skin condition is popping up because my body is busy doing other things. So that tells me what's going on inside my body is a little battle. My body is busy with that battle and can't take care of the other issues that are popping up. So the first thing is gut health. Second thing, closely followed, and it could even be the first thing, is a parasite cleanse. And then third thing is I would go and get the medication that shall not be named and put that on the rosacea. Why would I do that? Because Dr. Makis, going back to Dr. Makis, he's listed in the description box down below, was using this on basal cell carcinomas with very, very good results. And what he found out in the process of doing that is the medication that shall not be named was very, very effective on rosacea. Why do we not hear about it? Again, back to profits. $10.99 does not keep titans of industry rolling in billions of dollars. So if I had rosacea, I would, number one, deal with my gut, make sure my gut was as healthy as possible. Number two, I would do a parasite cleanse ASAP, completely and fully, because the last thing I want to do is kick up that nest and stop in the middle of it and provide another opportunity to increase my parasite load. And then I would go and get the medication that shall not be named, and I would put it topically on that area. I am going to try to find the post that Dr. Mackus did where he talked about his treatment for rosacea. It was a few months back. He posts a lot. I might not be able to find it, but I can assure you I saw it, and it was very, very impactful for me because I remembered it so clearly. That is what I have to tell you. I think it's all I had to tell you about parasite cleanses. If you haven't done one, my experience is that they're super easy. Nothing much happens. Nothing dramatic happens. It's just hard to remember what day you're on, which is why I have found that the index card method really, really works for me. I'm busy. I can't keep track of where I am on a parasite cleanse, so I just use my little index card next to the bottles and it keeps me on track. I hope this was helpful to you who had questions about the parasite cleanse, and I hope it encourages you who have never done a parasite cleanse to at least think about it. Giving your body the opportunity and the bandwidth and the energy to focus on its brilliance of keeping you healthy and energetic, happy and looking vibrant is such a great move. And anything that we can do to support that, I think, is probably a good use of our time. I want to thank you so much for joining me for All About Parasites. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section down below and I'll try to get to them. If you haven't signed up for the Sunday morning email newsletter, you might want to do it. I really do try to share what I consider to be good information about a vibrant, healthy lifestyle. I want to thank you so much for joining me. Again, I'm Kimberly. This is Pretty Over 50, where we talk everything beauty, fitness, and lifestyle for the over 50 and over 60 woman. Make it a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.